I was full of doubt. I was full of worry. I came from a completely different industry, and so I had to learn the language. I had to learn all of the acronyms. I had to learn all the terms. You just have to ask yourself, do you want things to change, and are you willing to do what it takes to see that change?
Aside from you landing this role, which is a huge accomplishment, right? To come with no former tech experience and kind of land into a 110K role with a great company, what are you personally proud of growing in or developing in or accomplishing as you went through the sword process? Today's episode is a client interview with one of my clients, Chris Dodson, who went from making 75K a year running a retail store to 110K OTE as an account executive in tech sales in just 2 months. Enjoy. Well, Chris, let's jump in. If you could kind of break down for us, like, what were you doing before Sword, and why did you feel like that wasn't going to be the best career path for you long term?
So I actually was a small business owner up until about November of last year. And that was my whole identity, was to be a business owner. And, I was going to make it or break it as a business owner. And I didn't even think about any other kind of career options. So when I closed that, that chapter, I had 3 or 4 months to kind of do a little soul searching and talked to some friends that were in the tech space. And I'm a product of coaching and mentorship, and so I automatically was drawn to that type of system to kind of teach me how to pursue a career in tech. And a friend of mine referred me to you, and I started watching some of your content, and I was like, man, this is the coach that I need because he's got what I want. Like, he knows, he's confident, he is knowledgeable, he's a master at his craft, and so I felt really comfortable making that jump from completely different industry into tech under the guidance of somebody who had already gone through this path, right?
Mm.
And so, yeah, I came from a completely different industry into tech, and now I have a pretty, I would say, respectable job in the space with a really reputable company, doing
Oh
things
yeah.
that I never imagined that I would be doing, but I'm enjoying it and I'm energized by it.
Oh, I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, you ended up at a great company, and to crack in, at 110K like that at a company like that, your future's bright, man. It's definitely bright. Um, what what did you think were going to be some of maybe the roadblocks for you to get into tech sales? Like, did you have any of those doubts or worries of, I don't have this or I haven't done this?
Yes, I was full of doubt. I was full of worry because I had only known one playbook, and that was to be a maverick business guy, right? And I kind of looked down on actual 9 to 5 people. I'm not proud to say that, but I didn't. I just was kind of opposed to that lifestyle. That's the story I was telling myself. And when I started to kind of do the day-to-day discovery of what would be involved in making a career change, I just I had to learn the language. The biggest roadblock was, how do I take all these skills that I have and package it and market it to people in tech who would want to hire me. And so I had to learn the language. I had to learn all of the acronyms. I had to learn all the terms, right? And by plugging into your system, all that stuff just kind of, I just learned all that along the way, right? And in my prospecting and my research and my due diligence, um, I went from zero knowledge to, you know, some knowledge, but my confidence was like as far as as good as it's ever been. And I was able to kind of continue that journey and knock those roadblocks of not understanding and lack of knowledge and lack of experience, and really just kind of just take it one step at a time, right? One conversation at a time, one learning point at a time. So yeah, I had a lot of fear going into the unknown, but
Yeah.
I just followed your lead, man. I took your hand and I followed the analogy. I got in the driver's seat. You told me when to turn. You told me when to press the gas. Very rarely did you tell me to press the brake, and that was a good thing. And so, and by doing that, it just became a working part of my vocabulary, my being, my day to day, and now I can have a conversation to people in the industry, right? I'm hireable. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's well said. I think your comment around entrepreneurs kind of judging the 9 to 5s is very valid because I'm now an entrepreneur. I've been an intrapreneur, is what I like to call it before then. And I think that's the appeal of being in sales is that, yes, technically you're working for another company, but you're in a role where you can absolutely control your income based on your effort. And I think that's why entrepreneurs can tend to look down on your standard 9 to 5 because it's like you're just a drone in a system and you get paid what you get paid. But I really believe that the SDR, the account executive roles in tech sales, they should really be viewed as entrepreneur roles where, hey, here's your target for the business. You've got to go make this happen. But how you do that is totally up to you. And so I think for someone like you, someone like myself, these entrepreneur types, like where we want a lot of control and autonomy, I think we fit nicely into sales because, yeah, you're part of a bigger system, but how you get to that goal is totally up to you. So I think all the skills you have from your years of business ownership are going to translate beautifully, and you're going to run a really great business within the business you joined.
I completely agree with that. One thing I had no control over as a business owner was my income, right? The only guarantee was I had to put in time and effort and money. That was really the only guarantee was the effort and resources I had to put in. There was no guarantee what was going to come out of it. And so in this role now, in account management, I can see I have agency, right? What I put in, I can see what will come out. I have a target, and it's nice to get a paycheck, man. I mean, that's something that I never experienced in my last business was a paycheck or an income. And yeah, I can totally see the autonomy and kind of being able to continue to flex that entrepreneurial muscle, just in a different vehicle, right? A worker among workers, and I'm okay with that. Like I feel like that's growth for me.
Mm, mm. I heard you say earlier that you basically discovered Sword through a referral. So for you, between the referral, their trust in me, then obviously our interactions, you had built up enough confidence in Sword and what we do here. I am curious to hear what you would tell the person who's on the fence about joining Sword. They know they want to get into tech, they know they need help, but maybe it's the time investment, maybe it's the financial investment, maybe it's the risk or the fear of the unknown. What do you tell that person who's like, "Ah, I really want to do this, but I just can't get past that fear of the unknown?"
It's a really good question. I guess what I would say is if you don't want anything to change in your life, then don't do anything different. Okay. And so I really had a deep desire for change. I wanted to start making an income and add to the family coffers and growing my family. And maybe it wasn't exactly like, here's the clear cut path to do it. I just knew that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing, and get what I want. And when Sword was put on my path, and you were, then it just kind of became clear what that path looked like. And I just had to make the decision, right? I mean, I didn't want to keep getting the results I've been getting. I wanted to change, and so that required me to take the necessary action, whether that was a conversation with one of your team members, or whether that was hey, you answered 20 emails of mine of due diligence, for me to feel comfortable taking that step. It also helped that there was a ton of social proof. You had helped tons of people that were in my situation before. These were real people who were making real incomes, in the tech sales space, that many of them didn't have that experience before. So that really resonated with me to be able to go from not having any experience to having tangible results, income, work. That was really appealing, and that kind of helped me get across hey, this is a big investment, or hey, what if this guy takes my money and runs? I didn't get any of that, right? You operate with complete integrity and honesty, and you made a connection from the very beginning that was unshakable, and we still have that today. And so Um, I would like to say that the decision was hard, but it was nothing from your end. It was me just having the faith in making that decision to take that step forward. And
Yeah.
when I did, everything started to come into place, right? I couldn't just make
Yeah.
the decision and then just sit back. I had to make the decision and then take that step. And then there was another step, and then there was another step. And as I did that, you were there, right? I took
Yeah.
the step and then you showed the path. I took another step, you showed the path. And so, yeah, if you're on the fence right now, just have to ask yourself, do you want things to change? And are you willing to do what it takes to see that change?
That's so good. Nothing changes till you do.
Yep.
That is the reality, and you're nailing that perfectly. And I always tell people, like, look, you get to choose your heart in life, and making a decision to do a whole career change and invest in yourself for something that you feel like is uncertain, that's really hard. I understand that. And how hard is it to be on the current path you're in without much hope or excitement for the future or any hope of something changing? And you just got to decide as a human, like, which hard do you want to live in? Because they have pros and cons. There's bigger rewards and there's bigger negatives depending on which path you take.
Yeah, and if I could just add something to that also, Jack, you know, this the skills that you need to do the work that you want to do, you don't have to have them at the beginning. When you show up every day and you're present in the work and you're taking actions, you learn those skills. The skill to interview. I never had to do that. I was the guy giving interviews, right? I was the hiring manager. But once I learned how to do that, because that's what you coached, and then I practiced, right? I did those reps. I learned those skills. The skills of prospecting, right? I'm already applying those skills to my role at WP. These are skills that you'll learn and you'll take with you to your next job, your next role, to your next experience. It's not something that you just throw away, and you didn't have to have them to begin with. You learn them as you go. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Give people a little bit of insight into what it's like working with me one on one. Like, was there something that stuck out to you about my coaching style or anything about that that gives people maybe a behind the scenes look?
So I've had two, I would say, professional coaches in my life. I had an executive coach that took me from, when I sold my last company and into the journey of the newest company, and and then I had a coach to kind of teach me how to set up an e-commerce store. And what I noticed, working with you is there were things that you did that I didn't, you were fully accessible. Like I could send a Slack message to you, and within minutes and sometimes seconds, you would have an answer for me. I never felt like I was bothering you. I never felt like I was tying you up from the million responsibilities that you have running your business and coaching numerous people. You were fully accessible, right? And not only were you accessible, you were familiar with where I was in the journey, and you were able to speak to that point in time, right? You knew I hadn't done all this work on this end of the platform. I was right here, so you knew exactly what to instruct and mentor me on without overwhelming me, right?
Yeah.
And you showed some grace, right? There were some times where I was like, dude, I can't, I'm kind of behind on some of this stuff. Some life situations are happening, and you showed complete grace in that. You're like, dude, give yourself some space. When you're ready to hop back in, I'll be here. And you were, man, you were right when I was ready to go. You were ready to go with me. So I think the personal touch, the one to one, is a true one to one coaching. It's not. I didn't work with anybody else, right? I worked with you this entire process. There
Mm.
wasn't, you didn't farm me out to somebody else. You didn't have a team of onboarding. You didn't have a team of specialists here. I worked with you.
Mm.
And that, I feel like the investment I made was well worth it. Like it was a small price compared to what I actually received in value and service.
Mm. I'm honored to hear that. And it just kind of reminds me that the job search can be really lonely sometimes. And to have someone to go through it with can make all the difference. And so, shout out to you for showing up as a good client, right? You cared about the work, You were committed, you were disciplined, you were focused, you were proactive. You did all the things that I need from a good client to have an amazing outcome like this. So good on you.
Man,
Last question I've
feeling
got
is
for
mutual,
you.
man.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, the feeling's mutual, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was scared. I didn't have to do it alone, and I just followed your lead. It was just, it sounds so cliche, but I just followed your lead, man. And so here I am today with a nice paying job and a bright future.
Let's go.
Tr-
I love
trust,
it. That's what we're
trust,
here for.
trust. Well placed in Jack.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Aside from you landing this role, which is a huge accomplishment, right? To come with no former tech experience and kind of land into a 110K role with a great company, that is a massive accomplishment. But that aside, what are you personally proud of growing in or developing in or accomplishing as you went through the sword process?
I am, I could say, probably most proud that I was willing to try something new, and I was willing to do what it took to do that. And, you know, learning a whole new, changing careers is just as much as personal development as it is a numbers game, right? Like I had to show up every day, and yes, I had to do the applications, I had to do the reach outs, I had to do all those things, but I kind of, I had to evaluate and have the courage to keep going forward, even though I didn't know what that next step was going to look like, right? And so, um, having the courage to continue to take it step by step, moving one foot in front of the other, even though I didn't know what it looked like around the corner. I don't. That's that's something that I'm really proud of that I was able to experience, because at the end of the day, it produced a result that I that is better than what I would have imagined. And so, yeah, growing as a person, um, is a part of this process. Whether I, was expecting that or not, that was the outcome, right? I'm a better, I have all the skills that I had before. I didn't lose the benefit of that. But I'm more confident in marketing those skills. I'm more confident in speaking the language to translate those skills into a role or an income or future opportunities. So yeah, the biggest thing was being able to take all of my past experience and use that as an asset to move forward in this new journey.
Mm. Amen. Amen, bro. Well, look, I'm so proud of you, and your future is bright indeed. So, congratulations to you, to your wife, to your family, to your future. It's really bright, man. And way to just put in the work and get after it.
Man, I am so grateful, Jack. Like I hope that I continue to grow on this path, and I know, and you've even mentioned it before. Like you're in my back pocket, and having that kind of access to someone like you who is really passionate about helping others, serving others, is something that I want to I crave. I crave, and I look forward to it.
Love it, man. Thank you.
All right, Jack.
Thank y'all for watching that episode. If you're trying to break into tech sales, you have to learn how to do the job to get the job, which is the exact magic we teach, which helps people like Chris get into jobs like this so quickly. So whether you're trying to break into tech sales into an SDR role, or you're trying to go land an AE role and get promoted out of an SDR role, we're here to help. I've got 2 resources linked below. One is a link to my free community, and in that community is a guide that shows you step by step how to land these tech sales interviews and how to crush them. And the community itself, there's a bunch of other job seekers in there sharing tips, resources, tricks, whatever we need to share to help each other out on the job search. Now, if you're someone who wants to go quickly, like Chris, you know you need help, you know you want to do this, you just don't know where to get started, that's going to be the second link below. That is a link to meet with my team. And what my team will do is we'll talk you through your background, we'll help you build a game plan for your job search, and then we'll try to figure out if it actually makes sense to work with you to make this transition or not. So whichever bucket you're in, we are here to help you. And yeah, hope you guys crush it. Remember, do the job to get the job.